My name is Ralph Kolewe. I'm the author of Afterletters, which is a book of poems. The thing that I found most compelling about, and it started with the letters, really. I mean, I've been reading Celan for quite a while before, and Bachmann also, but when those letters were published in the, what was it, 2004, I think, in German, and then the English translation came out about a year and a half later. When those letters were published, what really struck me about them was the asymmetry of the desire, the asymmetry of the loss, and how it shifted during over the years, and how it went back and forth. So there was this this lack that was there, and it kind of got passed from the one to the other in a way, and became different things later on in the course of the correspondence. So that was really what caught me, was that expression of the lack that is really at the heart of every desire, if you want to put it that way. There's a bit of that happening there for sure, and you know, that certainly comes out in Bachmann's later work, like the novel Melina, which is the last thing that she published before she died. Has a lengthy section that is definitely based on her relationship with Celan, and that was written 10 years after that relationship ended, so it clearly haunted her. Yeah, there's an element of star-crossed lovers. It would make their story would make a great opera. But the thing that attracted me to it was the language is very interesting. It's kind of obsessive in the way that love affairs that aren't going the way you want them to go often express themselves, and stealing that language is a way of distancing an attempt to write about that kind of situation. The world doesn't really need more poems of star-crossed love, I don't think. But on the other hand, that's something that we all have experience with, and it's something that keeps happening, and that we need to address, I think, as if we're addressing the human condition. So stealing other people's words seemed like a way to deal with that, a way to liberate the language of star-crossed love from a bit of cliche, maybe. So, like one of the things I'm trying to do in those poems is not to write a series of poems that are ventriloquizing Bachmann and Celan. That's not the intention at all. And I don't think the poems do that. I hope they don't do that. But rather to make use of their language to look at this kind of situation. And also, in a way, maybe to bring a different kind of view on their language as well. It's not completely buried in the mess of the middle of the 20th century. It's a different space than the space that their poetry or prose occupies. And looking at the space that's opened up by the correspondence changes your perspective on the other work as well, I think. And in a way, it humanizes it in a sense, because the majority of both poets' works deal with these very, very heavy matters in a brilliant way. But that's not all they deal with. Right? So I think that's an interesting thing to look at. Pillage and homage it's an interesting dynamic between the two. You have, I mean, we live in a world that has been inundated in text, right? And a lot of that text is very good text. You know, there have been some amazing writers in the 5,000 years or whatever that we've had written language. And when I think maybe we've reached a point where we can say, if something is really good, a fine way to honor its value as text is to display it on the billboard of your own text. So yeah, it's good to steal good lines. You know, if someone writes a line that's better than a line I can write, which a lot of people have done, I'm all for stealing that line, and I do feel that theft is a form of homage. Absolutely. It's also, of course, you're not just pillaging a piece of text. You're also pillaging the context of the text to some extent by doing that. And that can be very interesting. By using someone else's text, for example, using Celan's text from Celan's poems, which some of the poems in Afterletters do, or text from Bachmann's poems, or text from their correspondence, there's an engagement happening with the position that their texts took in history, specifically in the troubled history of the 20th century, and it also, I think, to some extent, liberates that text from the history as well. So it's both an immersion in history and a liberation from history, an homage and a pillage. Maybe kidnapping is a good word too. The letters are very interesting documents in and of themselves, but the poems in Afterletters are not those letters, right? So what happens in the poems is that each poem, in a way, turns into a kind of dialogue between a series of different voices, some of which are arguably Celan, some of which are arguably Bachmann, and some of which are neither. And those other voices are I guess, the place where the authorial voice, to some extent, comes in. But my voice isn't a single voice either, I don't think, in those poems. At least it wasn't intended to be. So yeah, these poems use the correspondence as a frame, as a device to break apart these different voices and make them interesting, I think. So it's a conceptual project in that sense. It's not a conceptual project in the sense that there's I didn't start out intending to break up Celan's writing or Bachmann's writing in a particular way, right? It's a very dare I say, lyric way of disassembling Bachmann and Celan's writing into something new. So if it's a conceptual project, it's very much a lyric conceptual project, to steal a phrase. What kind of person would take this book to read at the beach? Well, someone who didn't want to carry a 600-page novel would probably appreciate a thin volume of verse. And, yeah, I don't know, somebody who wanted a bunch of short poems with a lot of weighty space between them. So I had time to look at the waves breaking on the shore in between each poem, I guess. Well, a couple of things. I would hope that this book frees up a certain space in language so that we can talk about lyric things in a newish way. I also hope that this book has maybe a small impact on the way people read Bachmann and Celan. They tend to be read in a certain frame that people are starting to break out of now, but because there's enough distance. But I hope that this helps that process. But as he read, it was all plain. In the farthest near meaning, lose your father, your mother, your lover, child, wife, friends, the unclear burning off. Lose yourself and all your books, your hours. Make a list of dates or rivers from memory. Hide silence mad in other lives. Say there's living, yes, pared down here. Say as if. Fog stars topping the hills and licking down night to dark water tending your lost wounds. It should have been warmer, that swift, sure tongue. Unsent, unreceived. Because I want you to write again, everything is as usual. Thread and other caresses. I am not writing that they reached me by such a detour. Something that makes me helpless because I can only make assumptions, and these inevitably lead nowhere, an atlas or a concert ticket afterwards. The cards you send, which satisfied me until recently, are no longer enough. Yesterday and today I thought a great deal about you. You are always my concern, my thirst or assurance. You, beautiful things and gloomy things. In the mirror, it's Sunday. The poppies again, darkening me with that heavy dream in which I want to become light. The wild animal memory of spring. The white stain of uncatalogued binary stars. The balance wheel of a watch. Mechanical, unseasonable, dependent, misspelt, rough, blameless. The empty vase and the open window. They look up at us from the street. It's time. Adversity, variable, division, hazy, unripe. By autumn, leaf fall, tamed, walking, tight. I do not know why I want you, or what for. I'm very glad about that. Normally, I know it all too well. Object relations of all sorts. A hand, a table of our wood, all the stars. Chalk or blue or wood or tin. I could open to any page. Sky. Ever say, look straight up, that bright star? The names I made of you. Look, you are reading now. I am thinking of. Always just a few lines, word objects. Always a series of mist, part objects. Always objects left, stars found, reassembled. All we know of, blues, whites, all that drain out of this, that we leave out of this, edge of angled almost you and translate. Unreadable this world. No name, only act. Tear up the real letters, don't end them, light does not do. never arrive in any today. I didn't know your part. One more. No letters. 3:21 a.m. The moment of writing. You. No letters for years. If I have my words, which put in thy mouth shall not depart. The end of our brief unknowing. There are harder days to come. One more. Before 1967, this evening, that morning, star, eye star, star, overstarred, feather star, star, wood star, star, fawn star, chalk star, centauri star, fellow star, seven star, canopus, martin star, bright star, belt star, November star, star, quasi-stellar, starry-eyed, constellation, star bloom, aster, stars, stars out, starway, star-like, star-hand, starry, free starry, starlit, star-round, star-crossed, star-covered, star-throne, star-waste, star-time, sidereal time. At any one place at midnight will be about 4 minutes later each night until after a year has passed, one additional sidereal day has transpired compared to the number of solar days that have gone by.